Thor: Love and Thunder teaser explained, comic references, Easter eggs, and more. The teaser trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder dropped sooner than expected, and the fans haven't been able to contain their excitement. While the fans take to Twitter and other social media by storm, it's time to look at why this teaser has been so exciting. As we know, this installment of Thor has been heavily inspired by the Marvel Comics and is directed by Taika Waititi, which is enough reason for it to be a must-watch. However, the teaser reveals some other aspects along with some Easter eggs and leaves the fans wanting more. Here's a breakdown of some of such aspects from the 90-second trailer. Let's begin, shall we? Comic book and trailer similarities. Falagar scene from the comic, Thor, God of Thunder. Right at the 1-minute mark of the trailer, we see Thor standing next to Korg, compared to the large icy creature which is lying dead in front of them. The reason this scene is important is that it is the exact remake of a scene from the comic Thor, God of Thunder, which has heavily inspired this movie. Everything about this scene has been taken from the comic, including the rock formation of the place, along with the little details of the creature that lays dead in front of them. Because of the comic Thor, God of Thunder, we know that the beast in this scene was Falagar, who was killed by Gore, the God Butcher. While it is rumored that Christian Bale might be playing the role of Gore, there was no indication in the teaser trailer so far. Comic-accurate costumes. Before we go forward, please subscribe to us. Your small click will help us produce more videos. Let's continue. The beginning of the trailer shows young Thor, transforming into what we can imagine is a teenage Thor, and this version pays homage to one of the most classic Marvel costumes to have ever existed. The costume was designed by the legend himself, Jack Kirby, and first appeared in the comic Journey into Mystery number 83. The look is complete with the iconic winged helmet, which we also see in the trailer. This sequence of the trailer hints at what could be a series of flashbacks where Thor remembers his life. Nonetheless, it's exciting to revisit the costume from the comics, and hopefully, his entire wardrobe in this film will be inspired by the comics. Thor's chariot. In the trailer, we see New Asgard and 2 flying goats pulling a chariot. This has directly been taken from the comics as well. The 2 magical goats are Tooth Grinder and Tooth Gnasher. This chariot can ride on any surface and can fly on command as well. The first appeared in 1976 comic, War of the Gods, which is interesting given the little peek at Olympus and Zeus in the trailer as well. This chariot is rightfully owned by Thor, and while he used Mjolnir to travel places in the films and sometimes in comics, he'd often use his chariot to travel longer distances. This chariot can travel in space and all 9 realms. In fact, in the comics, he led the chariot to settle a dispute between himself and Hercules, most likely in Olympus, which could be a nudge to something similar happening in the film. Jane Foster as Lady Thor. In the comics, Jane Foster suffers from breast cancer and is undergoing chemotherapy. Mjolnir soon resonates with her when Thor Odinson loses his ability to wield the hammer on his own. Jane now possesses the same powers as Thor, and while she wasn't entirely sure how she would use the powers, Jane would soon grow into the role of a god, proving herself worthy of the hammer, and the title, the Goddess of Thunder. However, in the film, we are still unsure of exactly how Jane Foster will come to become worthy of the hammer. Will Thor lose his powers, or will Jane suffer from cancer? Despite these unanswered questions, the fans are thrilled about the Oscar-winning actress, Natalie Portman, returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Lady Thor, with a little glimpse of her in the end, wielding Thor's hammer. Other unbelievable characters who have picked up Thor's hammer. While in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the only people who can wield Mjolnir are Thor, Hela, Odin, Captain America, and Vision, there are several more characters across the Marvel and DC universe who have been worthy of this hammer. Starting with Jane Foster, whose Marvel comic canon has now been translated to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Next, we have Loki. The only reason he could wield the hammer was that in that particular version he was the good guy, and Thor, the bad guy. Nonetheless, Loki was worthy. Speaking of villains, Magneto and Doctor Doom have also been able to wield Mjolnir in the comics. However, men aren't the only ones worthy, as we see Black Widow and Wonder Woman being worthy of Mjolnir as well. Yeah, you heard it right. Wonder Woman lifted Thor's hammer in a crossover comic, Marvel vs. DC #2. While it is unlikely that we will see any of these characters actually lift the hammer in the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Jane Foster is the perfect starting point. Easter eggs. Valkyrie in a suit. While Tessa Thompson steals hearts in a suit, we must pay attention to the backdrop. What looks like a possible UN meeting could be about turmoil in New Asgard. Now, this is where things get interesting. In the recent film Spider-Man: No Way Home, in a news telecast, right at the bottom we see something about political turmoil in New Asgard. Marvel does love its Easter eggs, so the little nudge to Thor, Love and Thunder in a Spider-Man film was a brilliant idea to increase the curiosity of fans. This turmoil is probably the reason Valkyrie is at a meeting, not looking very thrilled about the events that are taking place. Strongest Avenger cap. This might be less relevant to the plot, but is something that has proved to be a fun moment for anyone who is a fan of the Avengers, especially Thor. While we see him getting back into shape, we see him wearing a cap that says, Strongest Avenger, which is a callback to the little comedic spat between Thor and Hulk in the fan-favorite film, Thor: Ragnarok. It brings a sense of nostalgia and a comedic element to what might eventually become a dark film. Death of Falagar. We see the dead remains of Falagar, the behemoth. In the comics, he is an acquaintance of Thor, who later finds out that he was killed by Gore, the God Butcher. It is safe to assume that Gore is the main villain of this film, and will be played by Christian Bale. Even though the teaser doesn't give us a glimpse of the villain yet, it surely gives us hints of who it might be, and what they are capable of. Marvel's Greek gods. We see a beautiful shot of what looks like Olympus and catch a glimpse of Zeus, played by Russell Crowe. If you come to think about it, Superman's daddy is the mighty Zeus. This is the beginning of Greek mythology in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which may or may not be explored more at a later period. Zeus has appeared in Marvel Comics before, and has gone up against Thor too. It is still unknown the extent of the importance this character will have in this film, but it surely will continue the debate of who is the stronger god, Zeus or Thor. What can we look forward to in the full trailer and the film? It's only Marvel that holds the power to wrap so much action and curiosity in 90 seconds, which keeps the fans wondering what they will find out in the complete trailer and the film. While this teaser introduces almost all the major characters, there are still a few question marks that we hope will be answered soon enough. For instance, where is Gamora, and what is Hemsworth's future in the comics? We see all the Guardians of the Galaxy, even if it is for a brief few seconds, but there is no Gamora or any mention of her. The last we heard of her was at the end of Avengers: Endgame, where Peter Quill is searching for Gamora. After that, fans hoped for her to join Thor and the Guardians in this film, and her absence from the teaser has left the fans confused. There is a possibility she might appear in the end credits of the film, which might set her role in the new Guardians film, or it's entirely possible this is just Marvel's gimmick to keep the fans guessing, and it worked. Gamora was trending on Twitter after the release of the trailer. Unlike Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth has gotten 4 films, which leaves his fans wondering if this is his last appearance in the MCU. The teaser ends with Jane Foster picking up the hammer, and it's entirely possible that she will now continue carrying the mantle of Goddess of Thunder in the MCU.
Not me. What? Just listening.
That was all in this video. Do hang around for more awesome content on everything that's movies, comics, and TV. Stay safe and have a good one.